going to like slowly fall down as we're talking.
Yep. It's fine.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
Hey gays and ghouls, I'm Sean Reedy.
And I'm Katie Toole.
And this is Friday Night Frights.
It is the first Sunday in September, which means it's time for another Sunday morning scream.
Ah! I may do that every time. You're welcome.
I mean, it's on brand.
It's here. We're in the moment.
Was it the Candyman episode where like we're talking about like the bees scream? Oh yeah, because the cocktail was called the bees screams.
Yep, and
so
I did the same thing. Bees screaming.
I mean, if they don't know by now, what are you even
We're
doing?
weird.
Yeah, that's why we're here. I want you all to know that he does that all the time while we're recording the audio too.
Yes, I do.
All the time.
Yep. If you ever like want to kind of get into like what is happening when we're recording, it's pretty much this.
Yeah, it's basically.
Yeah.
I think, we probably look at each other a little bit more.
Yeah, probably.
Than we look at, because, we don't just like pick a random point in the room. Although usually we're watching the movie on the television. So actually it is kind of like this dynamic.
Yeah.
We're like,
But with the movie in the background, sometimes we'll just pause for 15 minutes while we're like entranced by the movie, and then all of a sudden we're like, oh yeah, we're recording a podcast. Right. We should
be talking.
Yeah.
Say can't. Say yes. Here we are. Professionals. This month on the podcast, we have some fun stuff coming up. Obviously, this past Friday, which was technically in September already, the 3rd, we did a review of the new Candyman.
Yes.
Which was so good.
Yeah, so well done.
Loved it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously we go into more detail than that in the review, but too long didn't read. We loved it. Next Friday, as I promised in last month's video, we are doing Don't Breathe.
Yes.
I still have not watched it, but I will before we record for next Friday.
Especially because, if I'm not mistaken, isn't this coming out the Sunday before the Friday that we're going to be recording?
Oh yeah. No, I mean like, like this coming Friday.
Yep.
So I have to do it sometime between the time that you're watching this and the time we record the next episode, which will probably be pretty close to the same time.
We're going to make it happen.
We're going to make it happen. And then we're going to go see Don't Breathe 2.
Yes.
Which will be the mini-sode that we do on the 17th of September. And then on the 24th of September, get ready for a 3-hour fucking episode because we are doing Return of the Living Dead, which is one of my favorite movies.
I was going to say, I'm like, get ready. She's about to lay into you about this film. I am
going to give you every goddamn detail. I could recite this movie. I met Tom Matthews, who played Freddy at Motor City Nightmares. We'll make sure that we talk about that and that we put up the photo of myself and Mr. Matthews up on all of our socials. I was very excited. But yes, so that is very exciting. And then on October 1st, which again is technically October, but before the next video will come out, we are going to be doing Evil Dead. Now, you might notice that we are immediately breaking the pattern we told you we were going to do from now on.
Just for the month of October, though.
But just for the month of October, because October's spooky season. Although, if you ask me, spooky season started today. We are recording this video on September 1st, which is like...
We're in a Halloween amp up right now.
I mean...
Really, August was Halloween amp up.
Now and September is like Halloween part 1.
Yeah. Yep.
And then October is like Halloween Prime. And then November is like, we still kind of wish it was Halloween.
Yeah. It's still spooky.
This month I read The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. Overall, this was a fun read. I did have a couple of issues with it. I do like Grady Hendrix's work. I loved My Best Friend's Exorcism. I read that in one sitting. I was on a plane from Detroit to LA, and I finished it between Detroit and LA. So like, his work is fun to read, and it reads quick.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the premise of this was really fun. So the idea is, or the sort of very general plot is, that all the slashers in the 80s and the early 90s were based on true stories.
Okay.
Right? Like, imagine if all the slashers were based on true stories.
Mm-hmm.
While Hendrix doesn't actually use the real movies in the book, like, all of the franchises that he names are clearly based on actual franchises. So,
right.
like, if you are into horror movies and if you are into slashers in particular, you will recognize all of these things immediately.
Okay.
Which is fun.
Yeah.
You know, like, the Friday the 13th sort of redux is called, I think, Summer of Slaughter, or something like that. There's one that's based on Silent Night, Deadly Night. There's one that's based on the Nightmare series, which is interesting because, like, he doesn't go into a ton of detail about that one. And I think it's because, like, how do you make that based on a true story, even though technically it was kind of based on a true story. But we will get to that if you ever get our Instagram up to 100 followers, and then we can tell you all about it.
Hello.
But there was one called Gnome Coming, so there was one based on, like, there was a particularly bad Canadian slasher, which I'm pretty sure was supposed to be My Bloody Valentine.
Oh, okay.
Right, and they were saying, like, that was the worst one.
Right.
And then, you know, there were a couple of, and of course there was the Babysitter Murders, which was literally the working title of Halloween.
Oh, yeah, it was, wasn't it?
It was,
yep.
yeah.
Yep.
So, you know, that's fun. Like, if you have those, like, little bits of trivia in your head, it's fun to kind of, like, point them out and be like, oh, right, and, like, to recognize the plot lines. Every chapter of the book, which might have been my favorite thing about the book, and, like, that sounds like it's a dig on the story, and it's not, just because, like, this is the type of person I am, where this would be my favorite thing about the book, but all of the chapter headings were, like, subtitles from real horror movies. Like, you know,
okay,
like the first chapter was called, like, The Final Girl Support Troop. The second chapter was called, like, The Final Girl Support Group 2. And then, like, later on it was, like, The Final Girl Support Troop, the final chapter, which was not the last chapter in the book. Ooh. Of course.
Oh my god, I love that. I love that they tied your favorite thing about the fucking Friday the 13th franchise into this book.
Into this book, yes. So Grady Hendrix obviously agrees with me. So yes, very fun. Very much like a love letter to fans of slashers. I did have a couple of issues with it. There was exactly one black character in the book, and she died on page 1. Just like, Grady. And he goes into this whole thing about how, like, it was problematic that, like, in the movie series, this character was white. Which, like, great, awesome. I agree that, like, that does often happen where, like, people of color who are then, like, there are movies based on them, suddenly they're white.
Yes.
That is problematic.
Yeah.
Your message would have gone farther
if you would have had more people of color in your book.
If you would have had more people of color, A, or B, if you were only going to have one woman of color, like, that she wasn't dead literally before the story started. Like, this is not a spoiler when I'm telling you that she died. Like, her death launches the story, right? Because the story is that all of these slasher franchises from the 80s and 90s were based on actual cases, and the final girls from those actual cases all know each other and are in this support group because obviously they are deeply traumatized. We've talked about this, like how we sort of, like, you know, forget that if this was a real scenario, this would be, like, incredibly traumatizing for whoever was left over at the end. And someone starts taking them out one by one.
Oh, okay.
Which, like, is also, not an impossible to imagine scenario.
Yeah.
And there would be, like, some psycho who decided that he needed to take them all out. But yeah, I did have, like, it just stuck in my craw a little bit that, like, the death that starts it out was the only black character, who then wasn't even a character because she was dead before the story started, right? Like, you kind of see her in flashbacks later on in the book, but it's not the same, right? Like, she's not a fully developed character. at that point. One other little tidbit, like, of the trivia thing. So, like, that character's name is Adrian, and she was the girl from the Friday the 13th. Right?
Okay.
So, like, and the girl from the not Freddy, but, like, the Freddy series, her name is Heather.
Right.
Right. So, like, he named the characters after the actresses who played the final girls in the movies, which was also fun.
Yeah, that's a good time.
The other thing that I sort of took issue with, although this is fine. I mean, this happens. This happens to me a lot. I mean, when you consume as much media as I do, like, you get to know tropes so well that you're like, got it. Was like, I figured out what was going on very early in the book. And I don't think that was intentional.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and there was a little bit of a misdirect where I was like, oh, maybe I'm wrong, but then it came right back around and I was like, there it is. Like, if you don't figure it out, it's a great reveal.
Yeah.
If you figured it out, you're just kind of like, and there it is. But he also, like, in these, like, naming conventions of, like, of having these references to real life, right? He named one of the characters who's involved after an actual serial killer. And I actually knew that I had forgotten the actual serial killer's name, but I knew exactly. I remembered the case well enough that I knew exactly who he was basing this on. And then when I went to look later to, like, look up their names so I could talk about it, I realized that he had literally named them after this person. So I've decided not to talk about that case because it would give away the entire ending of the book if I talked about that case. Because you would literally know on page 1, like, the first time he names the character. I knew the first time he, like, described that character physically. Just because, I don't know, just the way that he described them.
Yeah.
It was, like, clear. Yeah. And, like, that kind of sucks. That, like, you know, this is the way that, like, if this person was sort of dressed this way or acting this way, that you would automatically go to, like, this is the killer. But
right.
I did, and I was right. So, again, not everybody's gonna, you know, if you're not, like, you know, if you're not really, really into true crime, then maybe you don't get it because you don't know that case, right? Like, if you just like horror movies and if you just like horror movies and not true crime, although I don't know many people who are in that situation.
Usually it ties all together, but not
usually
always.
Or it's the other way around. Like, I know people who like true crime but not horror movies, which is hilarious.
Yep. Hi, welcome to my boyfriend.
And my girlfriend.
Yep.
She sent me a meme once that was like, it was like, I think it's SpongeBob or something, but it's like the me sleeping, right? Me sleeping after yada yada. Have you seen that? It was like me sleeping after watching a documentary about real life serial killers, and then, like, me laying there wide awake after watching a fictional horror movie. And she sent that to me. She was like, "It me."
I was gonna say, was that SpongeBob or Squidward? I bet that was Squidward.
Yes, yeah, I think it was Squidward. Yeah, I think it's that meme.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
I had them. Yes, I remembered the show, but I forgot which character it was. Yeah. But yeah, so, like, maybe if you're in that boat where, like, you might not necessarily know the case on which he's basing the killer,
then you might be okay.
Then you might not figure it out quite as quickly.
The concept of that, though, of, like, using the like those, like, famous horror movie franchises and, like, pulling the final girls from all of them and then tying in, like, the fact of, like, tying in those two together, like, tying in
an actual case
case with the final girls from all of these fictional horror movies, like, non-fictional horror movies.
Right. Well, in the book.
Sorry, I just got my fiction and non-fiction just completely turned around there for a second. It's like,
wait, what?
It's fiction.
You okay, John?
I'm okay. I'm here. I'm ready to go.
It's like, it's real. It's all real.
It's
like,
all
no, it's
real.
It's
the whole book is real. The whole book is based on reality.
No, it's really fun. Like, I did really enjoy the book.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if I didn't like, you know, if I didn't like every piece of media where I didn't figure out the ending, I wouldn't like anything. But because when you have watched as much TV as I have, you just know. But the other thing that I really like about it is I'm a sucker for an unreliable narrator.
Oh, okay.
And it's written in first person from the perspective of one of the final girls. She, of course, is like deeply traumatized and deeply paranoid,
mm-hmm.
right? And of course, now she's in a situation where, like, you know, are you paranoid if somebody's actually trying to kill you? But at the same time, yes, she is, because she suspects literally everyone. So, like, every time she's kind of proved wrong in whatever her, like, line of thinking of who was responsible for what's happening is, right? Like,
mm-hmm.
every time she's proved wrong in that, she just jumps to the next, like, thought spiral.
Okay, and just starts thinking of someone else.
Thinking of someone else and like, oh, it must be this. And every time somebody tries to help her, every time somebody reaches out, right, like, she goes into these spirals. And it's
mm-hmm.
actually, like, it rings very true of, like, how, like, a traumatized or even just an anxious mind kind of works.
Yeah.
So I think it was really well written in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And also it makes it kind of fun, like, since it's written in first person, you only have her perspective. Right? So, like, some of the misdirects that I was talking about come from just, like, literally the narrator telling you this must be what's happening now. But it's not true because she doesn't know. Right. So, yeah, overall, really fun read. Recommend it.
I'll probably have to give it a shot. I will probably also know exactly who it is when I first start reading. Because I'm also super into true crime.
Yep.
So, here we are.
There's also, like, you know, a lesbian character, which is awesome, but her wife dies because, of course, she does. I'm like, come on. It's like, really?
One of you guys gotta go.
I mean, couldn't possibly have more than one gay person who survives.
No.
Over to you, Sean.
So the video game that I'm going to be talking about, I know I did discuss it somewhat previously, actually multiple times at this point, but that's fine.
I mean, you might as well dive in completely.
Yeah, we'll just go full into it. So I'm going to be discussing the Friday the 13th, the game from 2017. So not the classic version from Nintendo, Super Nintendo?
I think.
I was going to say, was it NES? Was
I
it
think
the
it's
original?
NES.
Original Nintendo? No, this is going to be the one that came out in 2017. So this game went through a lot of shit. It just went through a lot of shit, period, from beginning to end.
I mean, it's associated with Friday the 13th.
Right. So
and everything associated with Friday the 13th goes through a lot of shit, it seems. So.
Yep. Like, is it made for disaster? Was it just, it was designed for disaster. Yep. But that's okay. So, So it was developed by Ilphonic and published by Gun Media. So originally, Ilphonic was creating a game that was a very similar concept to Friday the 13th. And then Sean S. Cunningham actually ended up reaching out to them and essentially giving them the blessing to create a Friday the 13th game. So this was in 2015. They were originally planning for this game to come out. I believe it was 2013.
Okay.
Is when they started the concept of it. Maybe off in that time frame. Now the game was originally announced on October 13th of 2015. Let me rephrase that. It was originally started on Kickstarter. That was when the original Kickstarter program came to be, which is the same day that I heard about it and the same day that I gave them my money.
But it was not a Friday.
It was not a Friday. And there is a November Friday the 13th. Y'all just needed to wait a month.
Again. I mean, it was tradition at that point, I guess.
I mean, they're like, fuck Friday the 13th. Fuck it. I don't care if it's in the name.
Doesn't happen often enough.
Fuck it. So, so the game is it actually is it's a pretty cool concept. So there's up to 8 people per match, right?
Okay.
So up to seven of those people are going to be camp counselors. And I kind of loved it that they pulled characters from the actual movies and then pulled like concepts. So like they have like the bookworm, they have like the slutty girl, they have the jock, they have the nerd. But then there's definitely different characters that are clearly based on characters from the films. And then of course with the Jasons, they have different versions of Jason per like just about every single movie.
Right.
If that Jason is the same in multiple movies, then they only have one of him.
Right. I mean,
it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Like 2 and 3, they only have 2.
Right.
Because he had a bag on his head, both of them.
Right. Yeah.
You know. So there's the 7 people that play as one of the camp counselors, and then one person that's playing as Jason.
Okay.
So the whole point of this game, so a match lasts 20 minutes. You have 20 minutes to escape, to kill Jason,
or if you're Jason,
or die via Jason. So or literally last the full 20 minutes, like evade Jason for 20 minutes.
Right.
If you're Jason, your goal is to kill everyone.
I mean, that is his goal.
That's how it goes. The game is very basic. You have a couple of different, like the characters have different abilities, like some of them are faster than others. Some of them are better at repairing things, because like there's different ways of escaping. You can escape by repairing a car, by getting a car battery, gas, and the keys. You can repair the phone lines, and you can call the police. Or you can there's a boat. And this is not on all maps, which is kind of cool too. The maps consistently change. The cars will change place. You have to get a fuse for the fuse box to repair the phone. That will be in different places on the map. And then sometimes you'll have a boat, sometimes you won't.
Yeah. Well, that's good, because I mean, if it only takes 20 minutes, the idea is that you're going to play over and over and over again.
Exactly. So the whole point is it to be completely randomized.
Right. Yeah. If it was the same every time,
it'd get real old real quick. So it was really fun, because it was like, it's just one of those games that like you have up to a 20-minute match. You die, you don't, cool, and then you restart.
Right.
So it's cool because you can just keep playing and like keep challenging yourself, and it's a quick win. So there's the other thing is the maps. So they have maps from the movies. Yeah. Which is really cool, and they're very well detailed. So you have the Jarvis house, you have Packanack, you have Crystal Lake, you have Higgins Haven. Like, there are, like, and the maps are, oh god, the maps are just so good. Everyone for some reason likes to play Packanack, and I don't understand why, but it's a very commonly played map. I really enjoyed the Jarvis house map. Right. A lot of people hated it. Every time that I was like, yeah, Jarvis, and people are like, fuck. I'm like, okay. It is what it is. I don't know. I'm just here for a good time. I
have a question.
Yes.
Is there Manhattan?
There's not Manhattan.
What about the boat? The boat that's taking them to Manhattan. I mean, in most of Manhattan, they're on a boat. They're in Manhattan for all of 15 minutes, which is colossal missed opportunity. But we can talk about that when we get to that movie.
No, they didn't end up doing anything for Jason Takes Manhattan. Okay. But the thing is that this game was still in production, and like was consistently growing. So they were regularly adding more maps. The game started with 3 maps, right? And they ended up getting up to like, I think they got up to 6. And then what was cool too is like, depending on how you wanted to play, they had mini map versions of each of most of them, not all of them, but like if you're only playing with 3 people, 4 people, like you'd want a smaller map to make it easier for 1 for Jason and for 2 for you. Just everybody, yeah. Like for you not to have to run, like, because it can take a couple minutes to get across the map.
Right. Yeah.
for the full size map. So,
Right.
like it's because the maps were huge. There was so much detail that went into it. It's a beautiful game. Like very, very well made.
Reminds me of Zelda.
Yes.
Like you're just
Just keep
running,
fucking going.
You're just running
You're like-
across Hyrule for like 5 minutes.
And
You're like, really? Is there nothing we could do?
can't make this smaller.
Can't make this smaller?
It's fine.
I mean, I like it being bigger. Can we have like a transport or something? Like
No.
a fucking, what's it called in Harry Potter? A port key or whatever.
Just zoop right to
Yeah.
the other side of the map.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
I mean,
Jason
cool.
could do that.
Jason could do that.
Yeah, in the game, Jason had certain abilities, and one of them was like traveling. So they could actually, so it was kind of cool. So if you made too much noise, then Jason could hear where you're at. If you end up swimming, then
He would
Jason
just
knew
automatically be in the lake.
There were certain actions that you would make that Jason would be able to hear, no matter where you were at on the map. One of them was swimming. So he hears swimming, he can pop open his map and see exactly where you're at, and he can just travel right to you.
Right.
And he he moves incredibly fast in the water.
Like he's a turtle.
Yes. No, it's crazy. If you play as Jason, he just like zooms around. And so if you're
That explains everything.
Right? So if you're trying to escape on a boat, like you want to hope that he's being distracted by someone else and that you can actually escape, because if he gets into that water, he can get to you real quick.
Gotcha.
You can try to avoid him, but you can't see him underwater.
I kind of like that actually, because I feel like that's really true to the films.
Yes.
Because there
Right.
is this like feeling that he can just like appear.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Exactly.
And you're like, wait, how did he, like someone can be, Trish Jarvis, for example, running from the one house in final chapter to the Jarvis house, and then he's immediately behind her.
Yes.
Despite the fact that you never see him run.
Yep.
Right? It's like he is just transporting. So yeah, that's fun. I like that.
Yeah, it's a good time. And and even when oh shoot, I just forgot the character's name, the one that dies in the raft.
Sam.
So even when Sam dies, you never hear him swimming.
That's true. He's just there.
He's just there. So that was
You never hear him coming. Actually, that's a good point. Like you never hear him.
Nope.
He's just there. Interesting.
Well, and so that's another thing. So as a counselor, if Jason's nearby, then you get music.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah. So
Because, I mean, that's true in all the movies.
Right.
If they could hear that music, he would never fucking get anybody.
Right.
If that was diegetic sound, they'd be like, what the fuck?
Like, why is this happening?
I'm just going to leave now.
Oh, what was really cool with this, too, is that Harry Manfredini ended up doing the music for the game, too.
Of course.
Because,
You gotta.
and I mean, like, it's clear. Like, it's straight up, like, it's like straight up excerpts
Right.
from the movies. But it's really cool that, like, yeah, you can hear Jason when he's nearby. There was also, so if you ended up pre-ordering the game, then you got and they went through like the game took forever to come out. Forever.
Yes, it did.
If you were one of the people that pre-ordered the game, then you got a special version of Jason, and I don't remember which movie this is from. I know that he is, oh, you know what it is? Wow. Special effects.
Tom Savini.
Thank you. Tom Savini designed his own version of Jason for the game.
Of adult Jason.
Of adult Jason.
Okay.
And if you pre-order the game, then you got this.
That's cool.
And it's like Hellfire Jason. So Jason with glowing eyes and has this crazy weapon. And it's really hard to beat him.
So it'd be like Jason after he went to hell.
Yes.
Kind of.
Yeah. He looks awesome. And the music's even different.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, there's kind of like operatic like screaming in the background. Like it's crazy.
Nice.
But yeah, really, really fun. I believe he has a pitchfork, if I'm not mistaken, actually, or something.
That tracks.
Like a weird, like almost like trident.
Right. Well, like the devil.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
the little devil trident guy thing.
Yeah. So so definitely a really fun game. The one thing, the saddest thing about this game is
Because it is associated with Friday the 13th.
So basically, Victor Miller is being a dick.
It is mired in legal trouble.
Yes. So, so in the end of like 2019, he was like, "Hey guys, I also kind of helped create this movie.
Which is true.
Licensing. I should get a cut of this." And there was a whole debacle. I still don't know all of the details, the legal details of everything that's going on right now, but it's still going on. So because of this happening, they had to shut down production of this game. Mm-hmm. So they are still like, so Gun Media and IllFonic are still like working on the game as like fixing any like potential bugs that suddenly occur.
Right, like if you already have it.
Yeah. But they're not adding anything. Mm-hmm. They're not creating any new content for it. They're not creating any new maps, any new JSONs, any new skins, nothing. It is going to stay the same that it is. They ended up shutting down the their servers completely. So now the game is only self-server based. So whoever is kind of like the main host, it's running off of your computer.
In terms of what is coming out this month, I think that the movie that we're both the most excited about is James Wan's new movie, Malignant.
Yeah, it looks
very
really good.
Excited. It's kind of like, my understanding is that it's a little bit like The Dead Zone.
Yeah, it kind of, yeah.
Where like the main character has these visions of these murders that are then coming true. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming because it's called Malignant that there's going to be some kind of like brain tumor involved. I don't know if that's true. I feel like there was in Dead Zone, though, right? Wasn't that like the whole thing where he got like a brain tumor and that's why he could see things?
Anyway. God, it's been so long.
I mean, yeah, but and it's neither here nor there. It doesn't matter because it's not the Dead Zone, but it reminds me of that that concept. But it looks really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's James Wan, so it's gonna be
good. It's gonna be good.
It's gonna be a very beautiful movie. So I'm very, very much so looking forward to it. That's coming out.
Atmospheric.
Yes. He's really good for the atmosphere. He's very consistent with this. And that's coming out on September 10th.
Yep.
Which is also when very excited about this movie suddenly, and it's just such a goofy movie, but I'm very excited about it.
I'm here for it.
Death Drop Gorgeous.
I mean,
folks. So
there just aren't that. It's exciting because there aren't that many horror movies that center queerness as much as this one does. No,
it's definitely going to be a unique one. Mm-hmm. So this centers around a drag queen and another gay man, if I'm not mistaken. But
I'm pretty sure everyone in it is a gay man.
It's gonna be a gay, yeah.
I don't think I saw men and drag queens in the trailer, which is fine, but like I'm pretty sure that's who we're dealing with here.
You're right. Mm-hmm. So it focuses around two people though, and then but there is a person that is going around and draining, they're killing gay men and draining their blood. Both drag queens and just gay men in general.
Right.
This movie looks ridiculous in the best way. Mm-hmm. I'm so excited for it. Like, it looks bloody, it looks fun, it just looks super entertaining.
It looks very tongue in cheek, right? Like it's clear that there's intentional humor going on here as well, which is always fun. Like I love me a horror comedy, so
I'm on board for it.
I am excited.
So that comes out on September 10th as well. The other main one that I'm super excited about is Titane. So
okay, explain this one to me because I actually haven't heard of this.
I can't really do it.
Okay.
So I'm going to tell you why I can't do it.
Okay.
So Titane is
in lieu of an explanation why it cannot be explained, which is completely valid when you're talking about horror movies.
Well, this is a different type of horror movie.
Ooh.
So so this already came out in, if I'm not mistaken, it came out in Sundance.
Okay.
Earlier this year. Mm-hmm. And it was the talk of the town per se.
Right.
Like, people were talking all sorts of shit about this movie. Good, bad, and otherwise. Mm-hmm. So it is from the same director that did Raw.
Okay.
Of what I know of this movie.
Okay.
And they give you no description, really, on like if you look this up on like Rotten Tomatoes, the description is basically what the definition of the word titan is.
Okay, so tell us that.
It's basically it's a type of metal.
Okay. Oh yeah, like titanium.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's about all I give you.
Sure.
Of what I know of, the only thing that I know of is there's a woman that has sex with a car.
Is this movie French?
I believe it is. French. Yep. Yep. So the only other plot point that I know of is that it's about a father that's reunited with his son after he's been missing for 10 years.
And somehow a woman having sex with a car comes in?
If I'm not mistaken, if I read up on this film remotely correctly, that's what I got from
Interesting. Okay.
But yeah, their other thing, which I will read this directly. Titane, a metal highly resistant to heat and corrosion with high tensile strength alloys. That is the plot description. What the fuck? It looks cool. It looks interesting. I'm very, very intrigued. I have to see it.
When is that coming out?
So it's apparently coming into theaters October 1st.
Okay. All right.
So, yes.
So it's getting oh right, because it premiered at Sundance, but so now it's getting a wide release.
Yeah, it's getting a wide release.
Okay.
I imagine it may not go to like.
Okay. Yeah, it's probably more like a limited release.
Yes.
Like not wide, wider than Sundance, but
it may go to like a AMC, as you will. They like to do like more independent films.
Right. They have a name for it. AMC Signature or something.
Yeah, I think it's AMC Signature or AMC Independent, isn't it?
Is it independent? So that's it for our September Sunday morning scream. We will be back with another video the first Sunday of October. Until then, of course, we will have all of our normal podcast episodes for you for your listening pleasure. If you are enjoying these videos, please consider subscribing to this channel so that you just know when these videos pop up every month. I'm going to try to start uploading some of the back catalog of our episodes as videos too. So if you want to listen to them on YouTube, or if you need the closed captioning or something, that make them a little more accessible. So watch out for that as well. Also, just hit the like button for this video. Help us out that
Subscribe. I know it's down there.
It's down there. It's up here.
It's everywhere.
Like,
wherever it is, click it. Thank you.
Otherwise, we do, of course, have our normal podcast, which releases every Friday, called Friday Night Frights. You can rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. You can follow us on Spotify. We have an Instagram, that's FN Frights Podcast. We have a Twitter at FN Frights Pod. We have a website at fnfrightspodcast.com. We're also on Facebook. You can just search Friday Night Frights, and we'll pop up there for you. If you would like to contact us directly, you can scream at us at scream@fnfrightspodcast.com. You can also talk to us on the comments of this video if you want. And then, of course, we have our Patreon, Fright Club, which we will link to in the description if you would like to throw us some support. Other than that, join us next Friday night. You'll be in for a fright.
But until then, sleep tight.